we've got the Virtis lyophilizer freeze dryer. It has both a manual mode and an automatic mode. It's in manual mode right now, but it's been tested in both. If you can zoom in on this screen, and I wanted to point out, I have a vacuum hooked up, and the vacuum pump comes with the system, and it's at 21 millitorr approximately, changes a little bit, and it's recommended in the manual that it has to get below 200 millitorr, so we're plenty in range. The next two indications are two sensors that are just sitting in there. They're not in something, so there's a difference, but those are operational. And it does show you the average, so that if you had two containers and you wanted to see what the average between them were. It's also showing the shelf. I have the shelf at -40, and if you'll notice down here, under manual mode, it says manual plus heat -40. And that's because this to be tested properly. The freezer will go to -40, but the heater also heats it up, and you want to be able to make sure that it can start at -40 and heat up to whatever temperature you want it to be, and plus control. So even though that heat light is not on, it will come on if you had set in a positive value. That heat light would come on and show that it's sending heat pulses out. The condenser temperature is here. It's automatically at 55, and it fluctuates around there. It's a larger mass for it to control. And it just shows that you have a vacuum pump, etc. You can set all of these things individually. I can turn the vacuum on or off. Try again. There we go. You turn the vacuum off, and you'll see the vacuum start to rise. And that's what the manual mode does for you. If you wanted to change things in the manual mode, you'd have to go into the maintenance screen, pick the manual mode settings, and it shows you what your set points are. And you can change these from here. All of these are in the manual. To get out of the maintenance mode, you can see it says maintenance return, or you just go exit into synoptic. So I'm going to go into synoptic. I can't visually show the automatic mode because it does take too long. But you can see you have your start-stop, and you can also have recipes programmed in there. There is a default recipe, but it's very simple to go in and pick a recipe number. I pick recipe number 1, and the thermal treatment steps, you would down arrow, hit enter, and it shows you the different steps, and then you can just go down step by step and program it. If there did happen to be an alarm, something didn't go down fast enough, it would show you that. It doesn't indicate a problem necessarily, it just wants to give you an indication, and this light would light up, and then the different alarm messages would appear, and if they were an active alert, you can see it has a small square, and even though that's what's up there flashing, that's still not, because you want to look at it when the flashing has stopped. You would see a square next to either one of those things that the alarm occurred. Down here you have the F1 and F2 keys, and that all depends on the functions that come up with a different menu. Put synoptic to get back out of there, brings us back to the main screen, and everything is operational, the system's working properly, and that's it. On this side of the unit, it has ports here where you could do flask freeze drying. You could attach the flask. These are soft rubber, and they're activated by turning this knob, which would allow the vacuum to go into the flask, which would then freeze it there. And it has these jets, which are basically just the exhaust vents from the cabinet. That could help heat the flasks if need be, but they're not generating heat specifically. They're not meant to.